We're on the coast. We're on the coast of the Philippines. That right there is the South China Sea, and we're watching the U.S. and Filipino militaries conduct live-fire exercises. It's part of the largest ever combined combat exercises between the U.S. military and the armed forces of the Philippines. For 125 years, the Philippines has been crucial to U.S. interests in the Pacific. And now, amid rising tensions with China, the Philippines has agreed to let more American troops into the country.
If that war comes, we're going to be prepared to execute it if we have to.
Diba, nasa kabilang panig sila ng daigdig eh. Diba? Anong pakialam nila dapat dito? Wala sila dapat pakialam dito.
I traveled here.
All right, we're getting on this boat.
To learn what a surge of U.S. troops means for the lives of Filipinos.
Ito ay isang gera hindi na matutupad sa US. Ito po ay isang gera na hindi mangyayari dito sa China. Ang gera pong ito ay mangyayari sa Pilipinas.
And how the effects of U.S. colonization are still reverberating today. It's an expansion of an existing mutual defense treaty from 2014 known as EDCA. EDCA initially granted American troops access to these 5 Philippine bases. Now, the U.S. will have access to 4 more bases, conveniently, mostly located facing either Taiwan or the South China Sea. Chinese leaders see this and other recent actions by the U.S. as provocation.
如果美方不踩刹车，继续沿着错误的道路狂飙下去，脱轨翻车，陷入对抗冲突。
On the same day, I traveled 50 miles up the coast of where this bombing was happening to meet with locals who oppose such war games.
They are not welcome here. This is our country. This is not just a battlefield for practice, for wars.
I'm on a boat with a group of local Filipino fisher folk who are protesting the increased U.S. military presence here in the Philippines, saying it's directly impacting their livelihood. They've been banned from fishing in the sea for several days during Balikatan, a significant setback considering fisher folk are the poorest segment of Philippine society.
Ang aming pagtutol ay hindi lang naman sa Balikatan, kung hindi yung pinagmumula ng Balikatan. Dapat ang EDCA ay i-review o kaya naman ay abolish na dahil hindi naman ito tugon sa kahirapan, sa krisis ng mangingisda, sa krisis ng Pilipinas.
But while these military drills are a temporary setback for the fisher folk, it's estimated that over the last few years, some have lost 70% of their income due to not being able to fish because of consistent Chinese intrusion into their waters.
Kung sa aming mga mangingisda, ang kagyat naming problema, yung panggigipit sa amin ng mga Chino.
In that sense, do you feel like the U.S. military being here is protecting you from China?
No, ang US ang magiging dahilan para lalo kaming gipitin ng China. Kasi kapag na-trigger ang isa't isa sa kanila, ang Pilipinas ang madadamay. Madudurog po ang Pilipinas, madudurog ang buhay ng mamamayang Pilipino, masisira ang ating kalikasan.
Our sovereignty, our freedom, our democracy, our lives, our natural resources are affected by all this.
Many Filipinos, like those who were protesting outside the country's Department of National Defense the day Balikatan started, say the U.S. has historically exploited the Philippines.
Kasi ayaw namin na ma-sweep na lang under the rug. In all but name, the Philippines is a neo-colony of the United States.
In 1898, the Philippines became one of the first U.S. colonies after being purchased from Spain for $20 million following the Spanish-American War. The U.S. wanted the archipelago nation for its natural resources and strategic location in the Pacific. The U.S. had promised the Philippines its freedom in exchange for helping them defeat Spain, but the U.S. broke that promise and instead occupied the islands and waged a brutal war that killed an estimated 200,000 Filipino civilians. What came next was what President William McKinley called benevolent assimilation. American school teachers were sent en masse to the Philippines and set up a public school system that taught English and American history. In 1946, after almost 50 years, the Philippines gained its independence. But with freedom came a caveat, that the U.S. could continue to station its military there rent-free. Throughout the 20th century, the U.S. military used the Philippines as a launching pad to conflicts like the Korean and Vietnam Wars. Subic Bay Naval Station and Clark Air Base became two of the largest American overseas military bases. They also became the sites of untold environmental tragedies and seedy red light districts that contributed to the abuse of Filipino women.
We have seen and have heard about the stories of women who have been raped and murdered because of American soldiers who want to experience pleasure after their work.
I'm about to call up the governor of one of the northernmost provinces here in the Philippines where the U.S. military will be accessing 2 new bases. And he's been quite vocal against these plans.
I've always been against foreign military forces in the country. There are no winners in war.
Manuel Mamba is the governor of Cagayan province, which is just 250 miles from Taiwan. Even though he was against the EDCA expansion, his province will still see more U.S. troops. What's the worst-case scenario?
And when military equipments will be placed in my province, that would be a magnet if and when war would erupt.
What is your province's relationship to China?
We never had problems with them. And in every major city and major town here, we have Chinese communities. They have always been part of us too.
How do you respond to the voices that say President Marcos invited the U.S. military here and there's a lot to be gained from the United States, like safety?
That's a total lie. That's a complete lie. I mean, the U.S. has always been here, has been here since 1901. If you want to help us get out of our territory, of our own land, of our own seas, of our own women, get out of our country. My goodness, you're not helping us at all.